Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
From 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go.
Hey, good Tuesday evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well and had a great day today. I know I did. It was pretty busy, but of course, you know, the news never stops giving. So I decided to come on and cover a few things with you guys tonight. Some updates on some things that had happened over the weekend as well. So it's good to see all of you and those of you who will be joining later. It's always good to know that you've been here as well, even though you're not here live. And when I'm live, it's okay. So the first thing I wanted to cover is the border, some updates on that. We know well aware of what's been going on yes. Okay. That's cool. Garrett, how did you know? I've got one of those on there. I'm going to be talking about that. Okay. Good to know. We're going to get to that eventually, but I'm going to start with the border, but thanks for sharing that. Remind me if I get going and I don't see it and I don't remember to talk about that. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about was the illegals. And we know that they're supplying these illegals that are coming in with visas, food, shelter, transportation. I talked about how they are having housing and they're taking over some senior centers in different cities, Chicago, New York City, and all of that, some people have been on different news channels saying that they told that their seniors that they had in these facilities were asked to get out, and they had like 30 days or something to get out. I talked about that the other day. They also have cell phones. We've seen them with brand new spanking cell phones. And, you know, my question is, who's paying the bills for those cell phones? And, you know, our veterans, and, you know, veterans are close to my heart. Many of you guys are veterans, and many of you, the veterans, are close, and the military is close to your hearts as well. And they're homeless. They don't have cell phones and they don't have housing. There's been millions and millions and millions of dollars that have been spent, that is being spent to house these different illegals that have been coming through. We know that they have new clothes on. They have new shoes. They look like they're well taken care of. I just talked about on my last show about the Biden administration has an app that these people from all these different countries can download the app, buy a ticket to this country through the Biden app, and then they get flown here. Yes, they have to pay for it, but who's getting the money and why is that happening? So we did talk about that, as well as the National Guard is coming out, and you can watch videos of that. They're upset because they are not allowed to turn any of these people away, these illegals away, that the Biden administration has instructed the National Guard to cut the razor wire that Texas Governor Abbott has paid for to put up to sort of limit the crossing into our country. And Biden's administration has told these National Guard to go out and cut the razor wire. So it's a free-for-all. We've got 10,000 or more illegals from all different countries coming across every single day. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you, and thanks for being here. And I try, Steve. It's hard to keep up with everything, but I try. Also, why is the federal government allowing this to happen? So, you know, we're well aware of the situation and what's going on, of course, and what's been going on and how it's not being stopped. But, you know, we have to ask ourselves the real hard questions. Why is the federal government allowing this to happen? Why is it coordinated? This is very coordinated and it's very planned. It has a purpose, but what purpose is it? You know, so many times over the years, we've been called different bad names, and we've been hypochondriacs about the border and this and that. But now we're seeing these so-called sanctuary cities that are actually overloaded and that can't even house these people. So we hear about working age men that are crossing, that are being housed in these retirement complexes. And people are questioning, why is it only these working age young men that are housed in these different retirement facilities? Also, we heard about the military grade tent facilities that they're funding that's costing millions of dollars in Chicago to house the illegals as well. So like I said, hundreds of millions, it seems like, spent to help them out, get them over, allow them over, and just make sure that they're nice and comfy once they get here. It was also announced today that in New York City, they're gearing up to pay over $1 billion in just hotels, you guys, over the next 3 years to house illegal immigrants. So the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, is estimating the total cost of the migrant crisis will be about $12 billion over 3 years. He said, we are past the breaking point with more than 57,000 individuals currently on our care on an average night. It amounts to about $9.8 million a day, almost $300 million a month, and nearly $3.6 billion through the years. So Staten Island locals, if you haven't seen this, I just saw this video today as well. They were being arrested because they were actually blocking the migrant buses from coming in. So they were all getting arrested. So now here you are. Do you remember all these different governors that were saying, oh, we are sanctuary city and we're proud of it. We want to help these people out. Now we have the New York City mayor saying we're inundated with these people. It's a crisis. We don't know how we're going to handle all these people. And we see these billions of dollars that they're estimating that's going to be spent over the next 3 years. Where does this money come from? Us, right? So if they're all allowing all these people to come in and they're housing them, they're paying for them, make sure they're comfy and they can work. Like I said, what does it say for us, the American worker, the American citizen? What is going to happen to our young men and women that are trying to get out there in the workforce to be able to obtain jobs to feed their families? And it's just disgusting and disturbing amounts of money that are being spent on all this. So now we know that this is going to keep happening. He let the title drop, Title 42 from Trump. So this is going to keep happening. So what's the end game on this? This is where I'm stepping back and asking the questions of how are we going to be able to house and take care of these people? There has to be an end game. And what is that end game? And why is it allowed to continue happening? Those are the big questions that I want to try to find answers for, to dive in and figure out. And what are our options at this point? You know, we know 2024 is right around the corner, and we better hope that it turns out the right way, because if it doesn't, we're pretty much sunk, in my opinion. What are we going to do at that point, right? It's unfortunate, and it's not fair to the children, these innocent children that are being brought over and traumatized, that are lost. There's so many lost children as well. They're not in the best condition either when they come across. There's these kids, the video today that I saw with that razor wire, as people are lifting these young children up and over that razor wire, they are getting scraped up and cut up. And it's like the border people aren't even allowed to do anything about that. It's like they just pick them up, dump them, and run, get loaded on a bus, a boat, whatever it is, and they're taken away to really never be seen from or heard of again. So this is just really, to me, it's reaching a peak here, that something needs to be done. Yeah, now him and Hochul are telling them to leave. How funny is that? That's true. So like I said, they were all these governors that were all proud to step up and say, we have to help these people. It's not families. It's not innocent families. We've gone over this over and over again, that it's middle-aged or younger men fighting age men. So what is that telling you? When you've got a bunch of different people out there that live in these different cities that are seeing these people pour into their cities, asking questions, why are the elderly being sent out of retirement homes or different senior apartment complexes to house these illegals? And, you know, I heard one report that they said, oh, this was an abandoned apartment complex, but then they interviewed on the news different people that had family members in this apartment complex stating they had 30 days to leave. It's wrong. And we know it's wrong. But like I said, we all have to team together and figure out what's the next move. What options do we have besides trying to hold our representatives accountable, making phone calls, sending emails, and all that kind of thing. We also need our representatives in Congress to really get on it. The Republicans are so haphazard about it all. And I've got some stuff coming up about the government shutdown and stuff as well. And Matt Gaetz, if you didn't see it, I'm going to talk about that as well. He was on fire this Sunday with Maria Bartiromo on her Sunday morning show, and he had some very valid points. He was very aggressive, but very succinct in what he had to say and what he had, the truth telling that he was doing. And we all know for a long time now, we haven't been told the truth by a lot of representatives. They flam back and forth. We're not sure who to trust or whatever. But so far, Matt Gaetz, he's been on the right side, it seems, for a long time. America first. Let's simplify the government. And it sounds like a joke, doesn't it, by saying simplifying the government? But we'll get into that. Hey, D-Dog. As long as American is homeless, American hungry, nothing for our country's invaders. Exactly. It's terrible. So let's tap into the Ukraine here for a moment too. And if you guys didn't see it, there was a 60 Minutes show that talked about Ukraine and how our tax dollars are funding Ukraine. I found this pretty interesting too. Hey, Lily J, good to see you, Dal. Instead of talking to you on text, it's good to see you in chat here. So in total, it says America has pumped nearly $25 billion of non-military aid into Ukraine's economy since this invasion began. So we hear about, obviously, the millions and the billions, and, Zelensky was just here with his hands out asking for 100 and plus more million to take home with him. But 25 billion of it's been non-military. So a lot of that funding has been used to keep their small businesses open. How does that hurt in our hearts? Because we know what happened to us with the shutdowns and stuff. How many people, good, hardworking American citizens, lost their small businesses, but we are keeping their small businesses open. American taxpayers were financing more than just the weapons. The U.S. government is buying seeds and fertilizer for the Ukrainian farmers. So that's pretty nice, right? You think, oh, that's a really nice gesture when our farmers are suffering and it's hard for them to make a living. We have nothing much that is helping them and support them to feed us, right? But Ukrainian farmers, I guess, are doing pretty well. I had no idea we were doing that. Also, we are funding and covering the salaries of Ukrainians' first responders. There's 57,000 of them that we are paying for their salaries, and also the team that includes the search dogs that go into debris and rubble to look for survivors in this rubble when there's attacks and such. Like I said, that is not a bad thing to do if we were taking care of ourselves first, because the innocent people are always pawns in this. The we people are the innocent pawns, always in the elitist games. And but it's disturbing to know that we have $25 billion to help them do these sort of things. Also, the U.S. is funding the divers who are clearing the unexploded ammunition from the country's rivers to make them safe again for swimming and fishing. I don't know about you, but who's swimming and fishing if there's all this battle going on and they're very concerned and stressed out and need all this help? I think in hindsight, if it was over, the battle was over, you can do that. But in the meantime, we're going to fund that for now. So, that's another big question that we ask. Why are we funding others before we fund ourselves? There's really just no words for it at this point when we see the inordinate and the obnoxious amount of money that is going outward for everybody else, or even inward in our own country, but not to help us and help our businesses, not help the auto workers, not help the veterans, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to do electric vehicles here to eliminate auto workers' jobs. Auto workers are the backbone of, so many states in this country, and to insult them by just using electric vehicles and trying to give benefits to those who are buying electric vehicles and acting as if that's the new age and the new rage to do that is beneficial to society as a whole because of, the worried about the oxygen in the air and all that stuff, that, hot planet stuff, so to speak. It's just a joke anymore. So one of the 60 Minutes reporters that was stated while in Kiev, they learned that 3 of McCain's former colleagues were also in town. The Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren was there. Richard Blumenthal is his name, and Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, all there showing support. And this reporter was saying they don't normally agree on much, yet together here they are over there in Kiev, being staunch supporters of the U.S. funding for Ukraine's resistance. So, of course, you hear the word warmonger, and you think that's an old term. Well, obviously it's not. If these senators and these representatives can pull together over there because they support that cause of funding this over there. Senator Lindsey Graham had a statement on the 60 Minutes while he was out there. This is what our Senator Lindsey Graham said. Hey, Chris Gilbert said, they're on track to break the Russian army, and the only way they could possibly lose is if we pull the plug on them. Well, I don't know that Ukraine's going to beat Russia. That seems obnoxiously ridiculous and no way. But get this, he says the only way they will lose is if we pull the plug on them. That doesn't sound like a short-term solution. That sounds like a long-term involvement for the U.S. again, and not shy of sending our loved ones over there to help aid in this battle as they're losing people left and right. So that doesn't sound very promising, and it's very disappointing for Lindsey to come out and say that. Lindsey also, if you don't remember, he's revered in Ukraine because back in 2014, Lindsey's the one that pushed the U.S. government to start sending arms to that country after Russia first invaded. So 2014, he's been a favorite of theirs, and they've been a favorite of his. So you have to ask yourself why. Why are we getting involved all over again? There's just so many questions more than answers. And the longer this goes on, and the longer that our representatives just drag their feet, it's very concerning, very concerning. Anthony Augers was live last night on Down South in Texas, and he found a whole group of illegals being separated into 2 hotels. Yeah, I'm not surprised, because that's the whole thing that's coming across the country, is they're taking over hotels. Like I just said, in New York City, they're gearing to pay up over $1 billion in just hotels. That's just hotels to house these illegals. So they're not. What are they going to do once they're housed in? How are they going to afford it? They're obviously, unless they don't get a job, they're not going to be able to afford it. And even if they get a job, how are they affording a hotel in New York City? I can't even afford a hotel, maybe one night stay in New York City, let alone to live there. So obviously we're going to end up paying the burden for that. It's going to break our backs. But how are we going to even fund that if we're not working, if our own citizens are suffering and trying to find jobs? And it's bad enough now. The jobs don't pay enough to pay our own bills and take care of our own families. So I don't know. It seems like a very deep well that we're going into, and it's going to be a hard climb out of it. The next topic is the government shutdown that's looming for September 30th. Matt Gaetz, this is what I want to talk about. Matt Gaetz was on fire. If you have a chance and you haven't seen it, look up Matt Gaetz on Sunday Morning with Maria, because she was going at him and he was giving it right back. And it was really, and it wasn't in just a slandering, name-calling way. The way she was wording some of the questions was kind of disappointing and one-sided. And so it was like, feeding him the question that there's really not a good answer to come out of. But she was sticking up for her pal McCarthy. And so Matt Gaetz really came back at her, and that man's on it. He's on it. He reminds me of Trump, that he can just recite facts and data and blah, 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 and just spew it out like he's breathing air. And I really have a great admiration and respect for people that can do that, because that means they're telling the truth. They don't have things that are memorized. They don't stumble all the time and just give their opinion. They're giving you facts and data from the inside. To me, that tells you that somebody that is a representative that's working hard for this country. So anyways, it started out with this. One of her first questions was why was he threatening Speaker McCarthy and trying to get the government shut down and standing in the way of all the Republicans' wins, including the possibility of investigating Biden on what looks like bribery? So here she says, threatening Speaker McCarthy, she says, and trying to get the government shut down. Well, they've known the shutdown deadline for a long time. They know when it's coming. So I don't think he was threatening McCarthy with anything. Matt said, we don't put our pencils down on the investigation during a shutdown. So that's a false premise. So he called her out on it. He said, there is no way we'd stop working on this if we had a shutdown. Second, if McCarthy was serious about investigating the Bidens, he would have sent Hunter subpoenas by now. He said, remember, during the first year of the Democratic-controlled Congress, they brought Donald Trump Jr. in 3 times over nothing. It was a nothing burger. What is serious is our overspending. He said, we are spending $7 trillion a year and bringing in only $5 trillion a year. And then Matt Gaetz, which I agree to this, and I wonder if you guys do, he said that the way to fund the government is not by doing it the same way Congress has been doing it since the mid-90s, where it's one up or one down vote from the entire government all at once, which I agree, these big bulk packages and different things they're trying to do at one time is absolutely obnoxious and ridiculous. He said that we should have separate single subject spending bills. He said Speaker McCarthy promised that in January, and he is in breach of that promise. So here it is. If you guys have heard the noise out there, there's been a few Republicans that even though their fellow Republicans are attacking, saying these people aren't working with us. They're just trying to make a statement. They're trying to get a name for themselves. They're trying to get us to shut down. So even the Republicans that are supposed to be on the same side are going against these people because why? They want their pockets lined. They want to have it their way. They're bought and sold and paid for. And there's a very few of them out there that are fighting the good fight. All these people knew when the shutdown was going to loom, when it was coming. It's not like because Matt Gaetz is trying to push forth single agenda spending bills that's going to shut down the government. And I love this that he said, and he reminded all of us, because I forgot about this, but it's a point that is well made. If McCarthy promised that in January, he's in breach of his promise. And Matt and all these other people should hold him accountable. He said, Matt Gaetz said, I'm not here to hold the government hostage. He said, I'm here to hold Kevin McCarthy to his word. And we don't hear very many people in Congress trying to work together, calling out truce. Basically, they're trying to do shady deals, have these bulk packages, these bulk, different things that they're trying to put through government at once, these spending bills and overspending, and then saying, oh, and then of course, we, the people that may not follow it as closely are like, oh, the government's shutting down. Oh no. And then the people who are uninformed point the finger at the so-called bad people like Gaetz, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are calling these people out and not caving. And thank God they aren't caving. Thank God they are standing up for us. This is another important thing he brought up. He said the Department of Homeland Security appropriations bill was passed by the Appropriations Committee in June. He said, and McCarthy hasn't put that on the floor in more than 100 days. That is not serious. So if people are accusing Matt of trying to shut the government down, he's coming back and saying, hey, McCarthy's had this since June. It's been over 100 days. He hasn't brought it to the floor. If he's so worried about it, why didn't he bring it to the floor? And he said that, I'll tell you why. And Matt Gaetz gave his opinion. And he said the reason McCarthy didn't move the appropriations bill was because the lobbyists and the special interests who own McCarthy want to put us in this position where we are backed up against a wall, forcing a shutdown, because then it centralizes the power to the people they buy off and pay for, the lobbyists, special interests, and all that. So they want this to happen. He said, so why would McCarthy want to put the possibility of a shutdown and put us in the position that we are in when he knew of a deadline? And that's why, because he's saying that he's bought and paid for. And he said, Maria brought up a thing about, hey, you can't say that. Jim Jordan's coming out and say we're setting up special committees. She goes, he's got 4 special committees he's set up and stuff like that. And Matt Gaetz had another good point, which I didn't realize about this too. He simplifies it so people can understand it. And it makes it interesting, and it makes you have hope that there is somebody fighting on our side. But he said setting up a committee is a step, but it has nothing as far as results. He says we can set up committees and have hearings and yell at people all the day long. But in the end, if we still send a check, and the one to fund a weaponized government, sending a check for that, what's the point? He says what having a weaponized subcommittee is of little relief to the American people. So that's right. We can do all the blah, 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 have all these hearings, and we can hold people accountable. He said we can yell at people. We can have all these committees, the formalities of it all, which is a step in the process. But we have to have end results. We have to have action. He said if any of this was serious, any of this, that, you know, all these Republicans that are calling him out and other people out, if they took it to task like McCarthy and they thought it was serious, they said we'd be sending subpoenas and compelling process the way the J6 committee did, and we'd be operating like them and taking action like them. And he said we're playing patty cake with the Bidens. And I totally agree with that 100%. We know the action the J6 committee took and the results of that, not agreeable or whatever, but they went in, they did what they had to do, and they got it over with. There wasn't even, all these formal committees and all this yap. It was just go in, serve the subpoenas, get it done, get her done. Why hasn't McCarthy served subpoenas? Why aren't we all just taking the action? It's like we're just a bunch of blowhards. We're blowing air and not getting any traction. They paused a bill until October 31st. They bought time. It was a short-term bill. Yeah. I mean, they play all these dang games. And then it's like, I'd lose my mind there. I swear I'd probably be like Matt Gaetz, like screaming and yelling, like, listen, if you're really serious and you just want to name call and point the finger at me saying I'm the one that's the whole reason for the government shutdown, you're really making a fool out of yourself, because these are the realities that are taking place inside the government. And it's no wonder people don't have a trust in the government. It's no wonder that people feel the government is weaponized. You look at all the things that are going on in this world and the inordinate amount of money that is being spent every way in every place that it shouldn't be spent. What about the people in Maui? All of a sudden that's gone away. I know that there's been some money spent. There's been some celebrities that have put some money in, but why are we not focusing on our own people and our own lands and getting stuff straightened out? Our farmers, why are we not doing that? So this, as you pull away from the big picture and you look at anybody that has voted for Mr. B, and I don't know that there's anybody that's standing up for him at this point, and we'll vote him in again. We all know that he really doesn't run it. It's people that are running it, and he's the talking piece, even though he doesn't do that well for it. So there's just so much going on, you guys. It's exhausting sometimes. And each day you wake up and you look at headlines, or you start reading through some things, and it just gets more crazy and more crazy when we are facing all the amounts of money that we are facing, that we are losing in all the different places we have our money, stocks and the 401ks, and we're trying to buy silver and gold, and we're trying to, move our money around to figure out how we are going to be stabilized. It's not looking very promising in that aspect when all our money's going out. Inflation keeps going up and up. It's obnoxious. And I just can't find another word for it. So the other story I wanted to cover, which is the last story in that Garrett, exactly, Lily J, round 3, right? Okay, so the Kelsey thing. Yes, this is the Kelsey thing. This is the last story. So NFL star Travis Kelsey has teamed up, and I'm not going to say the full name of the pharmaceutical company, but it begins with the letter P. You guys know what that is. But he's teamed up with them. And on his own Instagram, he has the hashtag PPartner. So he has partnered up with this company, and he's doing a new educational C-word jab campaign. So Kelsey, in the video that Kelsey has on his Instagram, and that's out there, he's seen working out, he's going to dinner, he's mowing the lawn, all at the same time while he's catching a football. Okay, so he's playing on the catchphrase, 2 things at once. Then as this video continues on, he's shown sitting in a doctor's office, and he's got 2 adhesive bandages on his arm. Okay, and the narrator who is talking over this video mentions that you can request to get your C-word booster along with your flu thingamajigger this year. So what they're doing is they've got this ad campaign out there that is saying you get a 2-for-1, and your boy Kelsey, who is this big celebrity now with the Kansas City Chiefs, big celebrity, big star, has teamed up with this company because they're pushing that agenda of getting 2 at the same time, because they said it'll be a lot more convenient for you to get both at once. And in his Instagram post, it's got over 100,000 likes already. And I believe his comments are disabled. They may still be disabled. But in his post mentions, this is his little comment about it. He said, well, with my schedule, saving time is key. And the C letter agency, C blank C, 3-letter agency, says you can get this season's update, Jabberdoodle, and note that it says this season. So once again, back in the day when we had 1, we were supposed to get then 2, then 3 of those jabs. Then it got up to 5, and now it's called a booster where they stopped numbering them. He's saying this season. So they're actually making it like the flu jab. Every single season, you're going to be getting one. He said, how convenient and how wonderful is it that 3-letter agency that begins with the C said, oh, it's fine. It's great. You can get them both at one time, and you're going to save time, because if your schedule is like my schedule, boy, that is convenient. So there's no direct mention of the P company, but the company's logo is prominently appears at the end of the video. So maybe they're thinking that we're not going to see that or notice that. But that's the thing that they do. They've also increased their marketing efforts for the jabs in recent years, but they always enlist celebrities. Once the doctors don't work and we start shutting them out, like Mr. F guy, then they use celebrities. They've used Pink. They've also used Michael Phelps, the Olympic gold medalist, the swimmer, to raise awareness. There's also a C-word drug that begins with a P that is not, and I can't say it because a lot of places are eliminating that new drug that begins with the letter P from a lot of sites. And if you look into the effects of long-term effects on the brain that this drug that begins with a P has, it's not very promising. And they're pushing that. That's a single pill that you take, and supposedly you take it like 5 or 6 times. It only supposedly lasts in your system for a day or 2. But this is the interesting thing about this. You have a rebound of getting the C word back. And it says because you have all these side effects, of course, headaches, nausea, all this stuff. Brain fog is another one. How many of us need brain fog any more than we already have after 30 years old? We all know that we walk into a room and we forget why we went into the room, trying to make a joke out of it. But seriously, that brain fog is one of it as well. So this is the thing added to Kelsey. So he's pretty much, in my opinion, sold out. But this is the icing on this cake. He is supposedly dating Taylor Swift, okay? Now, it is not uncommon for the industry to do relationship plants, they call it. And some have a theory. This is just a theory at this point. But what they've done is they're claiming that Taylor is dating Travis, and it's a industry plant. So why are they using them? Why would they put these two together? Well, because that way they'll get an audience they don't normally get, because we know Taylor Swift is the #1 pop singer right now. She sells out venues. She's at the top of her game. Supposedly this Travis, I haven't watched the NFL much at all, to tell you the truth, but Travis is at the top of his game. So bringing these two together is going to be able to market what their beliefs and stuff are to a different group of people. And already they showed Taylor Swift in the booth. And when Kelsey had the touchdown or did something well, she was up in that booth yelling and screaming and stuff. And they said a lot of the Swifties, or whatever they call them, will show up at football games now and pour in just at the chance to see Taylor Swift. Now, maybe those two are really in love. Maybe they are dating and it's on the up and up. And maybe they have common ground that they believe in these jabs and common, that's fine. But the point is, it is not beyond the industry to put people together. Back in the old golden age, we didn't even know if an actor and actress liked the same kind of sex partner, right? We didn't know that. Like Rock Hudson's a good example. They hid that. They did fake marriages even back then. So what's to change that now? Because if you see Taylor Swift and you see Kelsey, that adrenaline gets going, and these people follow her and they follow him. And so that therein brings a whole new market of people that you can convince that it's the cool thing to do because your favorite footballer or your favorite pop artist is out there promoting that. And that's a new way to mentally attack and introduce this kind of stuff to a certain market of people. And that's what I think. Yes, exactly, Garrett, to sell the agenda. That it's just kind of ironic, isn't it? I don't know. So that is my take on that, especially since he came out with this whole new ad campaign. And like I said, it's not like these companies haven't used people in the past to market and ads. I mean, that's what ads are, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's for the jabs or what. That's what they do. People have strategies. You've got consultants and specialists that say him and her should be together because then we can get this agenda. Him and her, they do it in the music industry. They do it with actors and actresses. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's a lot of fake. It's like, a lot of people, I mean, I heard in, what is that? The Deborah Winger and what's his name? Richard, couldn't even stand each other in An Officer and a Gentleman. Deborah Winger and they could not stand each other, and that when they were doing their scenes together, she was actually crying because she couldn't stand being close to the man. So they were acting, and it didn't matter because it sold. They made good on-screen chemistry. So that's what happens. So the point is, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of this coming down the road as they try to make this a seasonal thingamajig in your arm. Don't be surprised if they put more pairings together. Don't be surprised if they try to manipulate that way, because really they do that. You look at the triangle that's gone on for years between Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, and Haley Baldwin. You just take a gander at some of the social medias of these people and the attacks that go left and right. And sometimes they do it on purpose to remain significant, to remain popular. Sometimes it's their managers that are putting things out there. So Garrett, it's true. That's what happens in this industry. It can be really deep, dark, and ugly. Like you say, people sell out, people sell their souls, and it's the people who stand up for themselves that sometimes go away and disappear, or sometimes they start their own companies. Like I said, Mel Gibson's a great example. Everybody thought he was nuts and insane for the things that he was saying. They laughed at him. I remember actually the first time I heard him talking about what went on in the industry, I kind of laughed myself and I kind of discarded it. And then I started paying attention, because you know what, when you're the few and you've got all that weight and you've got all these media moguls that come after you, and you're just one person with a group of fans, eventually the fans, you hope they support you, but in the long run, they kind of fade away and they start going in their own lives. If you aren't giving them what they want or what they need, they'll just find the next fresh piece of meat. It is. You're really like a piece of meat. You're only as good as your last movie, your last song, your last show, whatever it may be. You're temporary. There are millions of people that are waiting behind these people to take their place, that are willing to sell out for money, willing to sell out for the fame, willing to sell out for anything. It's very hard pressed to find people that will stand their ground under that enormous amount of pressure. They'll wreck your families. They'll wreck everything and take everything from you, ruin your reputation. So that's why I say we have to support the people that stand up for truth, and not get engaged just because we like a certain person's song doesn't mean we should support it if we don't believe in what they're doing, not just behind the scenes, but in their lyrics or what they do in commercials and stuff like that. It's time we have to, for our children, to find honest people out there and uplift those people. They've even tried to attack different Christian filmmakers and stuff like that, and make fun of certain people who've gone that way, and that's okay. James Woods is another one who left, who stands up and stands out and stands strong. He wasn't willing to sell out. James Wood, it was a very respected actor and stuff, but he sell out. He's on X all the time, calling out things and calling out the industry. Antonio Sabato Jr. He was very famous and popular on General Hospital, which was a soap opera I watched, and the women were all about him. And now he's on X calling things out, and he's married, living a great life, trying to stand up for what's truth and right. He left the industry on that end as well. So there are a few people out there that you can direct children or yourselves to look up to and support, versus just standing for the trash that's out there with some of these people. It is just not in government. So I think our eyes have been open to a lot of that. You've got the other day, Snoop Dogg was talking about if T got elected again, and he started slandering basically his community of people, saying, if you vote for him, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It backfired, because his community of people are saying, you know what? These people that are in office flap their lips all the time, always saying they're going to help us out, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that for our community. And guess what? They never do. Mr. T is the only one that was helping us out. His administration did what they said they were going to do, and they said, we're voting for T. And they said, a lot of them, and they use language I can't even use, but in a lot of these videos that you see calling Snoop Dogg out, Snoop Dogg was big and he was looked up to. And these people are calling him out and saying, they're canceling him, let's just say. And his is, don't threaten us. You don't know what it's like. You're amongst all these people with all this money and fame. What have you done to help our community out? You're talking the talk and you're threatening us that and calling us names, because if we want to vote for Mr. T. And so it's very insightful to see the inside of how these people feel, and when they voice their opinion, just like when Mr. T was here in Atlanta not long ago, and he went through the hood, they call it, different areas that aren't that great. And what happened when he drove through there and went through there? He had support. There were banners of people holding up, because they said that he gives them hope, that if they can attack him, it gives them that they know what it's like to feel attacked unjustly. And so whatever the Dems are doing is really backfiring, right? Because they're going against him. They're calling out. I mean, Biden just, I think it was today or yesterday, just kind of insulted a lot of people, somebody calling somebody boy. And so he's facing backlash for that. It seems like every time that man speaks, he's insulting somebody, whether it's an honor, somebody that's received the honorary badge in the White House, or whether it's just somebody he's talking to and he says boy. It's just so bad. It's so bad. We're just a laughing stock, and we need to stick together and get it fixed for sure. So that's, by the way, all this cancel culture of people who are famous are getting canceled. It's another way to sell their merchandise, their music. Yes, exactly. It's true. It is propaganda. So we have to dig through it, Garrett, and everybody watching. We have to dig through it. We have to see what's true. But, like I said, if you follow somebody that's a celebrity and you like the work they do, and they align with your morals and values and stuff, sure, support them. But if you're supporting them when they don't line up, that's how we have that slippery slope. And that's why celebrities become all important when they should not be. People that are specialists in the field should be. Celebrities should stay to what they do, their music, their acting, whatever it may be. There can be some crossover if they want to give their opinions or whatever. But when they're representing pharmaceutical companies, when they know nothing about it and they're just getting paid, that's ridiculous. They're getting paid tons of money to advertise and support this and hold these campaigns. And it's disgraceful. It's just leaning way too far to the bad side, the dark side, in my opinion. Being in that industry like I was, money talks. A lot of times, unfortunately, money talks. But money can't be everything when this country's in the state that it's in. There has to be some morals, ethics, and sacrifices that we make to not sell out our souls and stand for truth and stand for the man above, for God. Because you know what? This life is temporary. And when we go to eternity, we want to go to the right place, I believe. And, it's now or never. So with that, I'm going to say, have a good night. That's the show for tonight. I appreciate you guys so much for your participation and for joining me. And I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. And who knows what we'll see in the news tomorrow, right? But some will give us a laugh and some will give us hope and some is really going to tick us off. So just stand tall and God bless each and every one of you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.